tales. The Golden Lads. A poor man and his wife lived in a little cottage where they supported themselves by catching fish in the nearest river, and got on the best as they could, living from hand to mouth. One day it happened, when the fisherman drew in his net, he found it in a remarkable fish, for it was entirely of gold. As he was inspecting with some surprise, the fish opened its mouth and said, "Listen to me, fisher. If you'll just throw me back into the water, I'll turn your poor little cottage into a splendid castle." The fisher replied, "What good, pray, will a castle be if I have nothing to eat in it?" "Oh," said the goldfish, "I'll take care of that. There will be a cupboard in the castle in which you will find dishes of every kind of food you can wish for." "Oh, if that's the case," said the man, "I have no objection to oblige you." "Yes," observed the fish, "but there is one condition to my offer, and that is that you are not to reveal to a soul where your good fortune comes from. If you say a word about it, it will all vanish." The man threw the fish back into the water and went home, but on the spot where his cottage used to stand, he found a spacious castle. He opened his eyes wide and went in and found his wife dressed out in smart clothes, sitting in the splendidly furnished drawing room. She was in high spirits and cried out, "Oh, husband, how can this have all happened? I'm so pleased." "Yes," said her husband, "I am also pleased, but I'm uncommonly hungry and I want something to eat at once." Said his wife, "I've got nothing. I don't know where anything is in this new house." "Never mind," answered the man. "I see a big cupboard there. Suppose you should unlock it." When the cupboard was opened, they found meat, cakes, fruit, wine, all spread out in the most tempting of fashions. The wife clapped her hands with joy and cried, "Dear heart, what more can one wish for?" And they sat down and ate and drank. When they had finished, the wife asked, "But, husband, where do all these riches come from?" He said, "Don't ask me. I dare not tell you. If I reveal the secret to anyone, it will be all up for us." "Very well," she replied. "If I'm not to be told, of course I don't want to know anything about it." But she was not really in earnest, for her curiosity never left her a moment's peace, day or night. And she teased and worried her husband until, in such a pitch, at length he quite lost patience and blurted out that it all came from a wonderful golden fish, which he had caught and set free again. Hardly had these words left his mouth when castle, cupboard, and all vanished, and they were sitting in their poor little fishing hut once more. The man had to betake himself to his former trade and set up fishing again. As luck would have it, he caught the golden fish a second time. "Now listen," said the fish. "If you'll throw me back into the water again, I'll give you back the castle and the cupboard and all the good things. But now take care and don't for your life betray where you got them from, or you'll lose them just the same again." "I'll be careful," promised the fisher, and threw the fish back into the water. When he went home, he found all the former splendor restored, and his wife overjoyed at their good fortune. But her curiosity still continued to torment her, and after restraining it with a great effort for a few days, she began questioning her husband again as to what had happened and how it had been managed. The man kept his silence for some time, but at last she irritated him so much that he burst out with the secret, and in one moment the castle was gone, and they sat once more in their wretched old hut. "There!" exclaimed the man. "You would have it. Now we must go just the way in short commons." Said the wife. "After all, I'd rather not have all the riches in the world if I can't know where they come from. I shall have not a moment's peace." The man took to his fishing again, and one day fate brought the goldfish into his net for a third time. "Well," said the fish, "I see that I am evidently destined to fall into your hands. Now take me home and cut me into 6 pieces. Give 2 bits to your wife to eat, 2 to your horse, and plant the remaining 2 in your garden, and they will bring you a blessing." The man carried the fish home and did exactly as he had been told. After a time it came to pass that from the 2 pieces he had planted in the garden 2 golden lilies grew, and that his horse had 2 golden foals, whilst his wife gave birth to twin boys, who were all golden. The children both grew up tall and handsome, and the foals and lilies grew with them. One day the children came to their father and said, "Father, we want to mount our golden steeds and ride forth to see the world." The father answered sadly, "How can I bear it when you are far away? I know nothing about you." And they said, "The golden lilies will tell you all about us if you look at them. If they seem to droop, you will know that we are ill. If they fall down and fade away, it will be a sign that we're dead." So off they rode and came to an inn where a number of people who, as soon as they saw the 2 golden lads, began to laugh and jeer at them. When one of them heard this, his heart failed him, and he thought he would go no further into the world. So he turned back and rode home to his father. But his brother rode on till he reached the outskirts of a huge forest. Here he was told, "It will never do for you to ride through the forest. It's full of robbers, and they're sure to come to your grief, especially if they see that you and your horse are golden. They will certainly fall upon you and kill you." However, he was not to be intimidated, and simply said, "I must and I will ride on." So he procured some bear skins and covered himself and his horse with them, so that not a particle of gold could be seen, and then rode bravely into the heart of the forest. When he got some way, he heard rustling through the bushes, and presently a sound of voices, someone whispering from one side of him, "There goes someone," and was answered from the other side, "Let him pass. He's only a bear-keeper, and as poor as any church mouse." The golden lad rode through the forest, and no harm ever befell him. One day he came to a village where he saw a girl who struck him as being the loveliest creature in the whole world, and he felt a great love for her. He went up to her and said, "With all my heart I love you. Will you be my wife?" And the girl liked him so much that she put her hand in his and replied, "Yes, yes, I will be your wife, and will be true to you as long as I live." So they were married, and in the middle of all the festivities and rejoicings, the bride's father came home, and was not a little surprised at finding his daughter celebrating her wedding. So he inquired, "And Who is the bridegroom?" Then someone pointed out to him the golden lad, who was still wrapped up in the bear skin, and the father exclaimed angrily, "Never shall a mere immobile..." Wait. Page is stuck, sorry. Try this again. "Never will a mere bear keeper have my daughter," and tried to rush at him and kill him. But the bride did all she could to pacify him, and begged hard, saying, "After all, he is my husband, and I love him with all my heart." So, at length he gave in. However, he could not dismiss the thought from his mind, and the next morning he rose very early, for he felt he must go and look at his daughter's husband, to see whether he was really nothing better than a mere ragged beggar. So he went to his son-in-law's room, and who should he see lying in bed but a splendid golden man, and a rough bearskin thrown on the ground close by. Then he slipped quietly away and thought to himself, "How lucky that I managed to control my rage. I should certainly have committed a great crime." Meanwhile, the golden lad dreamt that he was out hunting and giving chase to a noble stag, and when he woke he said to his bride, "I must go off and hunt." She felt very anxious and begged him to stay at home, adding, "Some mishap might easily befall you." But he answered, "I must and will go." So he went off to the forest, and before long a fine stag, as such as he had seen in his dream, stopped just before him. He took aim and was about to fire when the stag bounded away. Then he started off in pursuit, taking his way through the bushes and briars and never stopping all day. But in the evening the stag entirely disappeared, and when Golden Lad came to look about him, he found himself just opposite a hut in which lived a witch. He knocked at the door, which was opened by a little old woman, who said, "What do you want at this great hour in the midst of a great forest?" He said, "Haven't you seen a stag about here?" "Yes," she said, "I know the stag well." And as she spoke, a little dog ran out of the house and began barking and snapping at the stranger. "Be quiet, you little toad," he cried, "or I'll shoot you dead." Never say that to a witch's dog. And then the witch flew into quite a rage and screamed out, "What? You'll kill my dog, will you?" And the next movement he was turned into a stone, and lay there immovable, whilst the bride waited for him in vain, and thought to herself, "Alas, no doubt the evil I feared, and which has made my heart so heavy, has befallen him." Meantime, the other brother was standing near the golden lilies at home, when suddenly one of them bent over and fell to the ground. "Good heavens!" he cried. "Some great misfortune has befallen my brother, and I must set off at once. Perhaps I may still be in time to save him." His father entreated him, "Stay at home. If I should lose you too, what would you become of me?" But his son replied, "I must and will go." Then he mounted his golden horse and rode off till he reached the forest where his brother lay transformed to stone. The old witch came out of her house and called to him, for she would gladly cast her spells on him too, but he took care not to go near her and called out, "Restore my brother to life at once, or I'll shoot you down on the spot." Reluctantly, she touched the stone with her finger, and in a moment it resumed its human shape. The two golden lads fell into each other's arms and kissed each other with joy, and then they rode off together to the edge of the forest, where they parted, one to return to his old father, and the other to return to his bride. When the former got home, his father said, I knew you had delivered your brother, for all of a sudden the golden lily reared itself up and burst into a blossom. Then they all lived happily to their lives' ends, and all things well that went with them.